Hey, this is H&L here, and I'm excited to share my experience visiting Rally Ready Rally School down in Texas. We're going to start this off, though, with a question. Why would a road racer spend time in a rally car sliding around in the dirt? Let's get into it. Start with a quick background. I worked with a number of instructors in my short time on track, and a number of them have said things along the lines of, you've progressed pretty quickly. If you want to take this to the next level, you should talk to a pro coach. And the other item I kept hearing over and over again was you really need to get car control seat time. You've got a very capable car. You're starting to push it. Get some time working on car control. That'll do you wonders. It'll keep you out of trouble. After starting to work with a pro coach this summer, their opinion was essentially, if my goal is to get a competition license, race school is where I should be looking. But the caveat there was race school isn't going to focus on car control. If the goal is to maximize the amount of car control seat time one gets, rally school was their suggestion. It's really kind of a hard to beat value in maximizing car control seat time. They recommended I give a call to the three big rally schools in the U.S. Dirtfish out in Washington State, Team O'Neill in New Hampshire, or Rally Ready in Texas. O'Neill and Rally Ready, those are the easiest to get to for me travel-wise, and based on scheduling, Rally Ready ended up being the option that worked for me. Rob from Rally Ready was super helpful in planning out a 2-day school. Day one would focus on fundamentals in front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive cars, which are kind of the traditional rally cars most people would think of. And then day two, we would switch over to rear-wheel drive. Since rear-wheel drive is what my C5 Corvette is, the car control skills that would be practiced on that second day would be more directly translate to my time on track in the C5. So the school overview. Let's just kind of talk a little bit about the structure. It's generally pretty basic. Braking in a straight line with your left foot. It's kind of the first experience left foot braking. Then it pivots to skid pad, figure eights, slaloms. Working through these exercises in different platforms, it actually presented a pretty cool opportunity to see the different techniques that were used to generate big weight transfers and do rally style slides. The cars we used, so on that first day when it was front wheel drive, all wheel drive, it was a Ford Fiesta and a Subaru WRX, and this would have been early 2000s WRX with a bug eye. Day two, we ended up using a Subaru Outback wagon, known as the Driftback, and I also spent some time in a Subaru BRZ. Thanks to some pretty heavy rains that rolled through the day before, there was a lot of standing water, and I ended up really not getting a lot of time in the BRZ because I splashed through some pretty big water and I kept getting the MAF wet, so we actually had to park that, and I spent most of the day working with the Outback. So as far as the exercises, kind of what the experience was like, what I got out of it, so the skid pad was really kind of the first place after doing kind of an initial straight line braking with the left foot that we worked on. It was really cool. It's kind of a fundamental aspect of, I think, a number of schools, even on the road course, they have you do skid pads sometimes in wet conditions. This was really neat to get to try it on the dirt. The amount of sliding around that was done over the 2 days was a lot. I mean, that was really cool to get to spend that much time sideways. The interesting bit, doing this in a front wheel drive, all wheel drive versus a rear wheel drive, was kind of the difference in how you initiate the weight transfer to get the back end to swing around. So the front wheel drive actually spent the majority of the time inducing it with the brake pedal, right? So you'd leave the pedal, the gas pedal in the Fiesta floored, and then you'd be modulating the brake to end up taking weight off the rear and swinging the back end around. The Outback and the BRZ being rear wheel drive, we used the throttle. I mean, anybody who driven a rear wheel drive car and kind of messed around in the snow in a parking lot, you're able to get the car to kick out just with the throttle, and that's what I've got kind of on display here, what I'm showing in some of these videos. From the skid pad, you then transition over into figure eight. Figure eight is pretty neat because you're essentially connecting two skid pads with a big sliding weight transfer to change direction. Similar to what I said with the skid pad, the two different platforms have different ways of inducing the slide. Goal is ultimately the same, and you get that big weight swing from one side to the other as you're getting the car to change direction. It was really neat to do that kind of get that experience, get that practice over and over again. The course was a little bit, because of that rain, it was a little bit wet. At times it was a bit slick, both doing the skid pad and doing the figure eight. But as we got more and more use out of the course, that definitely helped to pick up the grip levels a bit, and things definitely got more consistent. By the end here, I was starting to string together a number of slides here through the whole figure eight. Definitely interesting experience, and then that transitioned into the slalom. So the big aspect of practice there for the figure eight was that weight transfer, feeling the weight kind of chuck from one side of the car to the other while you're getting that rotation and getting the car turned. That it was super apparent, right? We're building these skills. First you slide, then you toss weight to turn and change direction, and now as you get into the slalom, you're basically starting to use this weight to set you up for taking turns. The first day it was straight line slalom in the WRX. It was pretty, all induced with the brake. Felt very, after having done the figure eight, it felt very natural to start to toss the car's weight around and start to get the car to change direction. After that, once we had gotten some practice at that, and sort of the tail end of the experience was to connect that through the infield section. And I've got a few runs through this slalom / infield. This was pretty cool to kind of pull everything together. We saw a little bit of the infield, sort of presented some regular like turns, similar to what things in a stage would be like, where the turns are linked together. Getting to do that a number of times was actually really cool. And while we only spent a little bit of time doing it, it was really neat to see what more advanced school would feel like, right? Because those initial day one kind of fundamental schools, it's really about you getting comfortable with the weight transfer, with getting rotation, getting the car to change directions through a series of turns while sliding. And the next level, the infield, was a taste of like, how do you connect this together in things that are, more like a sequence of turns through a stage on a course. Yeah, to close things out, I felt like I learned a lot. One of the big things that was exceptional practice was working with the left foot, working with left foot braking, getting a feel for transferring weight with the brakes, getting decent practice, modulating with the left foot. I felt much more comfortable than getting out and left foot braking on track. Getting a time sliding around, I'd absolutely do that again. I would recommend other folks head on out there if your budget allows it. One thing I would personally like to have done differently, I would have done a third day, and I would have tried to do something like kind of the next level that would have kind of taken that experience that I had right at the tail end with the infield section and extended it and done more work on an actual section or on something that more resembled a stage. Getting to link together different series of turns, that was actually really, really cool, and that would have been something that was quite fun. Should other track drivers look at doing rally school? Yeah, that very much depends. If your goal is to compete wheel to wheel, money spent on a racing school is probably going to get you toward that goal of competition faster and more effectively. With that said, car control seat time is pretty important. If your time and budget allow it, at the very least, some skid pad time, it's worth sliding around to feel grip at the limit, and even just crossing over it and getting in a safe environment, getting a chance to go over the limit and see what that feels like. Rally school was a ton of fun. If you can swing the expense, it was a really like a huge amount of seat time and car control practice for what I spent. And I think, yeah, it's a good use of your time if kind of maximizing car control practice is what you're after. So, thank you for checking out the video. I'd like to give a big shout out to Rob, Andy, Mikey, and the whole crew down in Dale, Texas at Rally Ready. It was a lot of fun. Who knows, for another season, I may head on down and do some of the more advanced courses. That would be very cool to continue learning a bit more about rally and get some more car control practice. Thank you for watching. This is HNL, and I'll see you on track.